Another holiday edition of our broadcast here. Artist Journal, December 29th, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, and it's getting serious. You have to see how much Uxine has raked in here, and it's not even done yet. I did the maths. And it is impressive, to say the least. I mean, the artwork is totally impressive. This skull, which is part of Manifold XYZ, which is on Manifold XYZ, and we're going to talk about that because it's important that we all mint on Manifold XYZ in the next, 2 days. But this, so a lot of artists are, and Uxine did as well. 463 minted at, Uxine makes just so many good decisions, it's ridiculous. 0.03 ETH, so nice and cheap. And I bet if he had made that 0.06, he would have made half the money. And so putting it for very cheap, but you do the math, and it's over 13 ETH, which is, on the back of my envelope napkin calculation here, that's $16,000 US. Not bad for a day's work, and who knows how long he worked on this, but all to say, it's a brilliant image. But all to say, it's getting serious from a, when you start pulling in numbers like this, and it's newer artists, it's not just, the X-Copy and all the other artists from, say, 2021, but where you're getting new artists and then they are making a lot of money. The contemporary art world, I just discovered this is brand new, but when they start to learn about what's going on here, and they are, and we're going to see that in a second, this is, far from over what we're doing over here. And it's just kind of actually, we were talking about it yesterday, and big shout out to everybody who came on the spaces yesterday, especially Runetoon, who is also going to help with co-hosting duties. If our intrepid mystery co-host comes back, you can have more than one co-host. But it sounds like Runetoon is up for the weekly. From the sounds of it, I don't want to but it sounds like he was up for it when we messaged, which would be totally awesome. First of all, he sounds great on the radio. He's got a lot of interesting things to say, and you kind of need it for that format. And I am working my way through that format. It's not quite radio. It's not quite this, right? And so it's its own kind of medium. And so you have to iterate like anything, like any artist. We have to iterate here, but it's going well. The conversations, I was listening to it just as I was working on the tablet there, and I was pretty happy. So it's going well, and it's only going to get better. And I think Runetoon has some ideas, and it's going to be a lot easier with a co-host because then we can start putting up links, and it's not me just trying to keep the conversation going and keeping things interesting for an hour, which we managed to do. And Chi Moscow Jackson came in, and he's got a show coming. It was it was worth the listen. So you learn stuff and reflections on 2022. Anyway, we have a ton to go through as usual here, so let's do that. So Uxine making bank. This is getting serious, and the work itself, very, very interesting. I don't know how he's getting these really interesting distortions. To me, it looks like, and I don't think this is what I would be surprised if this is what he's doing, but it's sort of like when you save something over and over and over in a certain format, and you start to get these kind of distortions. I'm trying to think of what it would. I don't know how he's making it, but he's doing a really good job, is all I have to say here. This skull, he is just hitting the right note, and it's at the right time. And the market, I'm impressed that there are this many people that are buying. I think some people are buying multiples as an investment, but nevertheless, when we think of where Uxine was 6 months ago, which is kind of where almost any of us were, and look at this. So if you can deliver the product in this space, it will reward you. He is making a fortune this month. So a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to Uxine. So, continuing the seriousness, Pace Gallery. Okay, just to show you, in a sense, we aren't in a bubble here. Like we are, but we aren't. But just to show you, like Pace Gallery is, of course, one of the top, you could argue, 5. I mean, they're kind of seen as competition with Gagosian, from my understanding. I'm not a super expert on these things, but they're pretty like top 5, top 3, maybe top 2. Super duper famous Pace Gallery. Look at this. Like you load up their homepage here. This is what you get. NFT series, Floating World Genesis by A.A. Murakami. Okay, and this is from a December 21st press release here. Okay, so things are happening. It's coming from the traditional, what we call the contemporary art world. It's coming from the contemporary art world, the artists. But you see, and so they're working with Pace Verso is their kind of Web3 portal or hub, as they call it. And they're working with Art Blocks, the leading platform for generative art. So maybe this is a generative art piece. And it just launched. And then when you click on this link, it takes you here. Okay? And you see pieces, cool kind of abstract work, probably generatively made, one of 250. And so I'm not sure if that's an addition of 250 or not. Probably one of 250 in the project. And Floating World Genesis. So you just get, let me go to all items. This is what I want to go to. So Connect Wallet. Okay, now this is Art Blocks, but here working with Pace. So Pace is not messing around. They are not sitting on their laurels. They are not listening to the art newspaper who is saying that it's kind of over and done with. Maybe not that far. Maybe that's overstating their case a little bit, but sort of, Pace is, let's put it this way more carefully, Pace is clearly taking this seriously, this scene. It is on the homepage, okay? And if you click, you click on this, on a piece, and then if you want to buy it, view on marketplaces, you see this, and then that'll take you, say, to here, and you see already the best offer is $2,400 over 2 ETH. And it's interesting when you look at the history here, minted for 0.2. So you wonder if, maybe there's some kind of membership sort of thing that, hey, if you're with Pace and you have a certain NFT, then you can mint this. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's an Art Blocks thing, but just kind of interesting. This minted for 0.2, which seems really cheap for something that's coming out of Pace. And now, there's your 10x, okay? Now it's 2 ETH. That's an offer. You could probably sell it for 6, pretty quickly. Shall we just look at the activity here? As we are all collectors and love to look at the market here. All of us artists and collectors. Another kind of interesting quality of this scene. Look, 2 hours ago, 6 hours ago, and 3.6, 2.5, 2.4. Okay, so maybe not 6, but 2 to 3. And if you're minting for 0.2, this one went for 4.2, you got to be happy. Okay, that's real money. Okay, so there is that. And then there's Galerie Perrotin, another top 5 gallery, you could argue, top 10, mega famous. Look at this on their YouTube here. Mentalverse, okay, so that looks like just maybe having to some... So let's forget about that because we don't know if that's metaverse related or not. Maybe it's just Mentalverse. This is what I wanted to show you though. 6 days ago, Perrotin times Meta about NFTs and Web3 opportunities. Perrotin times Meta digital creation tools at service. So they're starting to put out some NFT stuff here. And you know why I think they're doing that? A, because there's money to be made, and B, probably their clientele under 40 is demanding it. And basically, they're responding to the market. And I'm sure there are some very forward-thinking people. These are some of the most cutting-edge contemporary art galleries in the world. I'm sure there are forward-thinking people who are like, clearly this is a place for growth for us. Even if this scene is kind of in disrepute right now, there is a market for it. As we clearly seen with Uxine there in a mere 24 hours, again, someone who came off an object and literally could have been, If you can put the product that people want out there, and I use product in a most generous way. I consider making paintings, making products. Other people don't like to put it in that term, and that's cool. But what I'm saying is if you can make artworks that tap a certain nerve that people like, you can do really well really quickly here. Okay, so we're going to see more stories of that today here. So there's lots to be optimistic about. Now, as far as Manifold XYZ, that is, of course, where this was minted. Okay, this is minted on Manifold XYZ. See this? Minted with Manifold at the bottom. So this has been going around here, and this is actually pretty important. Punk 2070. Artists friends, particularly new artists, if you have not yet minted on your own Manifold contract, even one piece, you must do so before January 2nd to avoid OpenSea's operator filter and guarantee your royalties. So basically, it sounds like everybody should mint on Manifold, whatever you have, okay? Maintain your autonomy. Please drop a piece on Manifold before New Year's Eve. So I'm not sure why or how, but just do it, is the message from Punk 2070 here. And so, yeah, I'll put something out. I think I'm going to put stuff that's kind of like, I've always kind of considered putting out kind of edgy, from a copyright perspective, edgy work. Let's just see if I can bring it up very quickly. A composite, because we were discussing this the last, here we go. Let's see. We were discussing this the last, we were discussing the representation of art. And so let me actually just bring up this other one, which might be clearer. But basically what I'm doing here, these are the originals that I find on Google Images. So another take on this representation of art discussion that we're doing. These, you see, this is the Alamy stock image. This is another version. And again, the colors are different. So which is the original, right? And so I'll combine all four of them into one piece. So should be good from a copyright perspective, definitely good, totally fair use, and there is a creative concept here. So I was thinking, but I don't necessarily want to mint this stuff on Manifold. Sorry, on Super Rare, for example, because it's still kind of a little, this was another one. St. Jerome, let's go here. This was another one, which is maybe more clear. You see, you get this version, you get this version, you get this version. And when I was looking at the Bellini Dodge, so I combined all four, or all three, and then you get this version, right? And let me just finally, and not to go too far, just based on this whole concept here, this work, the original, let me see, because it is actually, relates to our discussion. So this work here, you see how blue it is? Okay, and I have all these versions that are blue, and this one underneath here, again, if you did a virgin mix of this without the yellow mask, it'd be slightly more turquoise here. But what shocked me was when I saw the Bellini Dodge in the National Gallery in London, this is almost a gray blue. This blue that you see is totally inaccurate, and I was almost, frankly, mildly shocked at the color, because what I was seeing online was kind of these bright blues. And I almost like the bright blues better, interestingly. So back to that idea of the representation of art and online, how basically technology, whether it's photography that's then uploaded onto Google Images, onto Google or onto the web, and then Google tracks it and then provides this. Let's just look at the Bellini Dodge as a search, just as the final kind of wrapping the bow on this. Okay. And you see, this is actually a little more accurate here. So this is kind of closer to what you're seeing. So here, but if you don't know, you might think it's this, you might think it's this, you might think it's this. So it's interesting, the representation of art. Okay, so just to kind of further that discussion a tiny bit. So anyways, I might mint, I think, some of those. I've been meaning to, frankly, for months. On Manifold XYZ, so maybe I'll try that. More on this from Ile, and shout out to Ile. Thank you for all the retweeting of the spaces yesterday. That totally helps. Per Manifold XYZ, creators have until January 2nd at noon to deploy contracts and mint at least one token to maintain collection contract eligibility for OpenSea royalties without blocking zero royalty marketplaces. So I'm not sure why that is, but all to say, heads up, you may want to mint something, and people are. Look, Spagels Meskinen has put out a piece here, and here's another one. So Ilay's been collecting, delighted with this ETH gallery at the moment. Vanitas by Lavender Rose, very nice. And Uxine here, and Spagels Meskinen with one. So people are minting, and Ilay just minted, so heads up. A couple of works by Uxine that also came out since our last video here. This was interesting, another summer. So interesting experimentation, and shout out to Alexi, who has actually helped me he sent me Command 0. He left a comment on YouTube, use Command 0 to get back to 100% scale on our web browser. Anyways, interesting. Kind of looks like Amazon logo mixed with I'm Not a Robot, and the monks or the friars here. Again, you got your web, change of color, and then some really big brushwork, probably on Procreate. So anyways, pretty cool. Nice little detail in the corner there. So Command 0. Thank you, Alexi. Big shout out and a happy holidays to you. So very cool work. Already, I think it was sent out to collectors. Yeah, it went to probably some early collectors here, I'm assuming, or maybe people that won or who knows what, and sold a few for 40 in like probably 2 seconds here. Yeah, all in a minute. So very cool. And then sold for 100 on secondary to NSF World. And another one that came out, and this is probably a commission, The Edge, and just a cool work here. Again, these contrasts are superb of these digital, kind of rough digital pixelation, and then playing, the moving, contrasting with the still, the kind of big pixels with the brushwork. Here, again, like just really taking some risks here with just like some loose drawing. And then the monitor, so, the skull that's cropped. Anyway, on fire over here, Uxine. Looks like a commission to the Ovault. So interesting over there. And this is another thing I want to bring up. So Artie Hands going straight ham on Tezos today. So this was posted yesterday. I'm finding it's getting a lot more competitive to buy on Tezos right now. It's like you have to be it's almost like a job if you want to be collecting everything you want to get. You really have to be paying attention. Like for instance, mech.txt sold out this work, and now I think it's at 50 Tezos. We can take a quick look here. Do we have a link? We do. This beautiful pixel artwork. Yeah, now buy for 50. If you want to buy on secondary, there are already offers for 6. Maybe you could get it for less. I'm sure you could. But all to say, this went pretty quickly, except offer. So I'm not sure how it went, if it was a lottery or what. And shout out to IC Jules for also showing up yesterday on the spaces. It was really great to hear from everybody who showed up there. A wonderful story. So yeah, it's getting competitive out there, and which is a great sign, and it's wonderful for us as artists. Okay, so a nice kind of holiday news story here, a holiday update from What is IANA, who is also the museum. What is it called? We'll find it in a second here. The Udo Museum. So he's been working away here. And he has persisted, a lesson in persistence, and he put out this work on Manifold smartly, and a few have been minted already at 0.01 ETH, a very nice work, by the way. And so this came out. Genetics is like a black box, who knows what's inside? And remember, he does AI mixed with digital painting. So we were talking about What is IANA quite a while ago, maybe 6 weeks ago or something like that. So Strange Thing liked the piece, and it definitely stood out. So he minted a piece. This was at 10:57 a.m. yesterday. And by 12 hours later, What is Iana? I am shocked by what is happening. Thank you, Clown Vamp and DeFi Ape 2. And this is 8 hours into the auction, so probably around 2 o'clock p.m. Bids were made for What is Iana's work, and I believe this is on Foundation, which is why you're getting that 24-hour auction. So that is awesome. 0.15. So respectable numbers too. So you gotta love it. Again, the promise of this space is if you can make something that people decide they want, it can happen to you, dear viewer. It can happen to you. So it's really nice to see this. What is Iana, was struggling to sell anything early on, and now things are happening. He persisted, and here he is. So this is awesome. And a real supporter of the space, with that Udo Museum. Let's just look if he has that here. Uta Museum. Yeah, so has a really nice Instagram feed and everything. So this is awesome, right? And this AI is not easy, okay? I was messing around with AI again yesterday. It's not easy. You got to know what you're doing. And we'll come back to this one actually later on in our episode here. More kind of holiday goodness here and more bullishness for this scene. Sabato, somewhat goodness. I heard that Rex Flexosaurus was going through some really hard times, so to help support a true homie and top collector, I drew this portrait of Flexosaurus Rex, patron of the arts. And of course, this is Sabato. So a Sabato piece. 100% of primary goes to Flex and his fam. So I'm not sure what happened to Flexosaurus. I knew he was having some issues earlier, so I'm not sure what's going on now. But this is awesome. So, 10 Tezos, and there's Flexosaurus as part of the drawing exercises that we love by Sabato. So buy for 10. How many are left? There's still 23 left, so you can help out Flex and pick up a piece. Of course, Retro Tools Deluxe Paint 4 on an emulated Amiga A1200 computer. So very classic stuff. And Flexosaurus also runs the vending NFTs, the Tez vending machine, as far as I understand. And they have a copy of Thug Lord that's mixed up in it. So pretty cool. And look at how great this work looks, even after all this time. So you got to even just love everything about this. So anyways, you can so if you also want to help, you can use the Tez vending machine, which is a very cool thing. Just go to Tez vending NFTs and then follow the link here. Continuing on, RuneTune, another good news story. And again, big shout out for everything on the Twitter Spaces. So hopefully we're going to see RuneTune regularly on the week, and he's full of insights. What was so interesting about the Twitter Spaces yesterday, from my perspective, among many things that were said, was how so many of us kind of come out of the contemporary art world, but we're just people that did our art thing, but never quite kind of broke in to the contemporary art world, have probably little victories here and there. And so anyways, it's great that we're all kind of collecting like Chi Moscow Jackson, RuneTune, because it's not like we're just started to figure out, decide to become artists like 6 months ago or anything, right? And I follow all these people. Don't pay attention to to this on the side. I follow all these people, as you'll see. Let me demonstrate that, actually. See? I didn't touch that. And so anyways, and now look, everybody is being followed. So that is a bit of a Twitter glitch, by the way. On Cloud 9 right now, I cannot tell you how much I needed this encouragement. Okay? Thank you all much. I can't believe the generosity of this community. And he probably can't, just like I can't. It's part of why we love it. It is a generous community. And the contemporary art world, it's pretty tough, right? Especially if you don't know how to work your way up. And we discussed how you actually work your way up in the contemporary art world. That is in that conversation. Best believe I'm paying this one forward. Thank you, Brutalisti and El Crego and everyone who put in the offer. So he is in first place here, which is awesome. Part of this gm.gif competition by Bruta de la Creme. And there are others here too. So, I'm going to look at RuneTune's work, which I missed, actually, on the first go-round. So, Stressed, 13 frames. This is the RuneTune work. So, pretty cool. and a nice animation. And 13 frames, 1500 by 1840 pixels, created with Procreate on iPad. So anyways, very cool. He has a nice write-up here. Edition of 10, and there are a ton of, look at the offers here, 150, 100. So you got to love it, right? So, very cool. Congrats to RuneToon. And again, big shout out for showing up yesterday. So here is that GM.GIF contest. Pretty interesting. I hadn't heard about it. RuneToon mentioned it yesterday. And so, yeah, I guess that Slave Angel, this awesome piece here, was part of it, and Glitchtown Arcade. So this flew under my radar here. So anyways, some cool works here. And yeah, I thought this GIF work by Rapscallion, who I'd never heard of before. So this is the benefit, really, of entering contests, right? Because then I go, oh, Rapscallion's pretty cool. I go to his page, and then I go, oh, okay, that was a great work, follow. And so it does pay off to kind of enter these contests, even if you don't win. That's what they say with the contemporary art world, and we were discussing that yesterday. The way to move up is, like, the way to make your way, which most people kind of don't know. It feels like a big black box and mystery as to how to make it. You apply for residencies and open calls. And even what the curators will say is, even if you're not winning these things, curators get familiar with your work. And that's kind of what we see here, right? So there are some similarities here into how you, quote unquote, succeed on, in Web3 and in the contemporary art world. Anyway, very cool piece. Looks like Tokyo or something. Beautiful. And you got to love the contrast of this really nearby sign with the super far away, flying cars, Neotopia by Rapscallion. So interesting, and just a nice work by Dana Ulama that kind of captures the zeitgeist, really, of this week. GM back home after 3 days of intense Christmas bliss, and now for those surreal couple of days where you have no idea what to do with yourself or what day it is until 2023 is suddenly here. Well, I wish I had 2 days to not know what to do with myself, but I'm happy for everybody that does, and let's actually make sure to play this beautiful work. And that looks like a self-portrait. That looks like her. So anyways, really nice piece and captures the moment. And let's continue on here. Another show, Tez in Japan. Attention artists and art enthusiasts, Yuki Ama here, an Italian creative director and passionate collector of digital art. I am thrilled to invite you to the opening of my first exhibit, Tez in Japan, our international digital art movement here, at the Knox Gallery in Tokyo from January 7th to 8th, 2023. So look up Yuki Ama if you want to learn more about that. And I saw this because Sabato actually tweeted it out. And you see kind of a who's who here. Haiti Roquette, Ilya Shipkin, a lot, Acid Soup. We recognize tons of these people. Dan Control, so Lorna Mills, Von Doyle, right? Sky Goodman, Sabato. So it looks like a great show. Nicholas Sassoon. Anyways, congrats to all those guys. We'll have to check that out. Also, another show. So there's a lot going on here, as you can see. So cool, highlight. So cool, a glimpse of Burka Byram Art, curated expo, Animals of Tezos on Cyber. I recognize Yellow Cat in 1 and 3 with dog hunts. So here it is. Some screenshots for us, and it looks like Animals of Tezos. So a ton going on here, right? So if you look for it, you'll find opportunities in this space. This animal is hilarious. So very cool. Continuing on, so Bite by Bit. This was a very interesting tweet, I thought. After I found my old work, I decided to keep it in the Web3 museum. My work was made in 2003 using Paint software on Windows 98. Please visit available in PDF and one of one version. Enjoy. So he was working back in 2003. I was working around the same time. There's a couple of works I want to mint, actually. After I saw this, it kind of inspired me. So it makes, to me, like when I see this and I see, okay, Bite by Bit has been working since 2003, is still here, is quite conceptual in what he does. To me, like one of the concerns that collectors have, I don't have this concern as much, but it's a legitimate concern, is that artists show up to make some money, let's say in Web3, and then disappear, and then they don't continue with their art. That's one of the most important things for a lot of collectors, is that the artist will persist. So when you see Byte by Bit has been working since 2003, and has a nice body of work here, it just makes you think, okay, Byte by Bit is here for the long haul. Okay, so if I buy one of one Byte by Bit, it's probably a great investment, and they're not expensive. Okay, so here is his page, Byte by Bit Museum, Old Works Museum. So there it is, right? And you can get this PDF version for 500 Tezos. Most aren't for sale, but you can just see, all this experimentation way back then with digital art. So that kind of inspired me. So there's a couple of works. I don't want to mint as many as Byte by Bit, but there are a couple of works that I really like that I would like to mint as well. So great idea, Byte by Bit. Ed Marola. After almost 1 year, I start to draw on Procreate. So some interesting work here, because of course Ed Marola usually works with pixel, right? Pixel art type stuff. So now he seems to be growing into some brushwork here. So very interesting to see this transformation or development. So speaking of developments here, Rat Cloak, Self-Destruction, a new work on Super Rare. So another good-looking, ambitious piece. I like how the colors are changing in each one too. And, another kind of where the face seems to be disintegrating. Here it's kind of Francis Bacon-esque, and here it kind of is the Lord of the Flies disintegrating into insects or something, or spray of some kind. Nice painterly blue here, contrasting with the orange. Great color, as usual. Nice purple shadow, kind of surreal, but totally just his own thing. Reserve price 0.5, minted yesterday, or 2 days ago now. The picture is destroyed by itself. Cool it right up, nice and short. And you see here how this series is looking good all together. See this light blue, the green, the orange. It would look great, all side by side in a room. So, and they all kind of have that same feeling in this series. So just really interesting and really cool. So 0.5 reserve on that one. Speaking of kind of heads blowing up a little bit, GM with a work in progress from Evelyn O, who does AI and digital painting and is part of that MAIF group and also is on Super Rare. We've looked at Evelyn's work before. So anyways, I thought that just kind of paired nicely with the Rat Cloak. Continuing on, an artist I hadn't seen before, Vertigo, who's on Super Rare, Balance, and is selling quite well, 3 ETH, and just a very short right up here. It's an illusion. Again, kind of has a painterly feel to it, doesn't it? Almost like oil painting feel. Almost has an AI feel, but I don't think it is, but it's actually not clear. And if we look at their work, without killing the mic, and let's see if it loads up quickly here. Yeah, so you can just see, just to give you a feel for it. Kind of surreal, kind of uses a lot of the history of painting. These last two works are particularly seem to be doing well. But look, 4 ETH, 3.5 ETH, 2 ETH, selling well, okay? Interesting. So you see how, and the style has evolved, right, from here, and then once the market really, once you start doing something that the market likes, it's like, boom, $11,000, almost 12, and then the last one before didn't sell, right? So again, the memory is short in Web3, and that's actually a very liberating thing as an artist, because it means you can put stuff out, and if people don't like it, let's say, or it doesn't sell, or the market doesn't recognize what it is, you just put out the next thing, and it's kind of like memories are short, and that is a wonderful thing, actually. Continuing on, Kappa Sage with a 1 of 1, and the usual mayhem here. Show No Love. I thought this was a very interesting composition, primarily because it looks like this is a bed here with everybody on it, and then a painting of someone in bed with maybe that's blood, hard to tell, and money in their hand with nails, so I guess this is a woman, you're guessing, because of the red, nail polish, let's say, and maybe the body here. So anyways, the tattoos, so ambitious work. Was listed for 150, now is probably just open to offers, not sure, but anyways, cool work. And you gotta love the one of ones. I'm kind of all over it. Myth reappears. I will never leave you alone, my dear friend, and with a really nice title here. And just kind of classic Myth, kind of rough, but interesting. I mean, always unpredictable here. See the gradient here is purposefully kept separate. So interesting experimentation here. And a very nice piece, and completely sold out. Edition of 30 for 10 Tezos each, now $16.50 on the market. Nice title too. So yes, new work by The Myth. And continuing on, Lady with an Ermine. So this is by Daniel W. And what's actually pretty cool about this, let me actually bring up the drawing. We love the work in progresses here. One of the coolest things about my collection is that I'm constantly challenging myself to step out of my comfort zone. Never drew a effing ermine in my life, yet here we are. It's like, yeah, like what is an ermine? I only know it from the Leonardo painting. So anyways, here is the sketch, and you actually see how close he sticks to it in the digital work. So very cool. Buy for 8. So this probably sold out. Like he puts editions of 50 out, and they sell it like 5 Tezos. So that's a pretty nice haul here. And it's not like he's sitting on a whole bunch. Okay. So very cool. So anyways, part of, what is this series called? Redux Collection. So cool. Continuing on, Ezra Eslin. Now, she didn't mint this on Manifold, but she sold out of this. This was actually her Christmas work, and we're watching it develop here. So, again, kind of Where's Waldo, you know, with a lot of kind of mayhem here, a lot of murders and blood. And so, classic kind of Ezra Eslin. So, it looks like she sold 10 of them, and they sold for, I think, for 0.15, and now they're on secondary for 0.48. So anyways, 1.5 ETH. So artists are making money here. Okay, so everybody like keep making your art, and you never know. Like look at What Is Iana, right? He's having a great week. Okay, here's just an interesting drawing I saw on Twitter from Boo Boy. I think we've looked at his work before. So it's nice how we're starting to get so familiar with these artists that we're starting to, I think we've seen Boo Boy before. So interesting piece, I thought. And we've also seen this artist before, Orkan Isayev, I'm pretty sure, because we've seen this style before. And anyway, kind of futuristic city or skyscrapers here, organic shapes. So very interesting. I mean, kind of maybe a window on the future here. Love the red sky. You know, kind of an easy thing to forget. It looks like space, but it's a red sky and kind of makes the piece in a lot of ways. So just interesting work. Cap'n put out a couple of works that we also missed. This is a still work. I love what looks like a tree here. And this is Shinboku called, and this was released on Versum. And so just a very interesting work. I think it's an edition of 100. This is just beautiful here. And I love this juxtaposition. Like it's a strange work, actually. And you can buy it for a Tezos, and there are 37 left from Cap'n. Here's another work we missed, and this is a dynamic piece. We see the pixels moving here in the middle. Very nice piece, The Void Inside Thyself. Let's just see what happened on the market. Just sold out for $4.44, for Tezos 44. Basically, as soon as it, well, maybe not as soon, about 12 hours later, or 15 hours later, sold out at 4.44 Tezos. A new work from Ed Marola with some sound, and this was pretty cool. This sold out 51. Okay, so do you see where I'm going here with it getting more competitive? Like you're seeing Daniel W. sell out editions of 50. You're seeing Uxine sell 430 or whatever it is editions. You're seeing Ed Marola sell out 50. This is interesting. And I think the mint price was pretty low. And I think for all of these, that's kind of something these all share. I mean, Daniel W's wasn't that low at 5. Anyways, let's play some music here. I love these pieces. You used to be able to maximize them, but here we'll just play the music. sounding tunes. I mean, again, this feels like gallery work, doesn't it? This isn't just like geeks online, sharing GIFs. And very interesting, like bold choices of just like, okay, how do I make this version different? Because this is kind of a trope that he's used a few times. Well, I'll move some of the background around a bit. And again, it's just very experimental and interesting what's going on in the background here and changing the colors a little bit, interestingly. Continuing on, LB, who we discussed yesterday, actually a little bit. That was what brought Runetune, or I think it was Runetune, or maybe it was Chi Moscow Jackson. I can't remember who, but when they saw LB's work, they went, yeah, this is gallery. I think it was Runetune. This is gallery work. Anyway, let's see if we can expand this. So a new work using the Adderall mixer, I believe, and yes, Adderall V4. So anyways, doing his video work. So that was cool. This was the work we discussed. This is one of my favorites. I call it a Tezos masterpiece. And Ile actually picked it up after the Twitter spaces. I was like, heads up, guys. This was actually, as LB said, this was the first, as he said on Twitter, this was the first work that made me an LB collector. I love this work. I just, again, like Tezos masterpiece. It's just a perfect loop, the distortions, aesthetically gorgeous, the one side of stripes, the other, the drifting off of the ballet dancer. Kind of has it all. So Daydreaming Ballet, now you got to buy it for $90. And again, shout out to Alexi for helping out with the Command Zero there. That everybody is helping out. Ile with the little, with the summaries. Runetune helping out there, Oleski, you guys are all helping out, and it's wonderful to see. Lorna Mills, 500 Tezos for a 1 of 1, again doing her kind of landscape work, which I really like, actually. I'm a big fan of it. Warp Speed Singer, still on the market, minted yesterday, and a couple of more mech.txt works. So these were just minted, and so you see 46 offers. You see how competitive it's getting, guys, like for the artists. Like, I don't know if you remember that essay, but you longtime watchers, again, the last 4 or 5 months, will remember the big collector who wrote that essay and had said, enjoy the green pastures. In other words, like, enjoy not having many people to compete with. I think we're starting to see more competition here because Tezos is cheap. And people are bored. Again, digital art is arguably the main use case of crypto other than money transfer. And we're seeing that in spades here. Like 99% of the crypto projects that seem so great in the bull market, what are they doing? And has the use case all of a sudden disappeared because people aren't pumping money into it? The use case is clearly not stopping in digital art if it's just powering right through. And something I didn't mention yesterday in the spaces, but that I was thinking, it's sort of like you look at rock and roll or like new wave and punk, you wouldn't know like the political turmoil. You wouldn't know that JFK was assassinated in late 63 by looking at the music. Like maybe you could argue in 65, 66, rock and roll gets edgier. And maybe that's a result of a kind of the innocence is gone. And so maybe people are willing more to experiment with psychedelics and all that stuff that happened in the 60s. Maybe it was kind of a loss of innocence, but you wouldn't really know it directly from looking at the art. The art just the music just powered through. That's what we see also in the late 70s. Like you wouldn't know, it's kind of like America losing its confidence in itself and its own markets, which is supposedly, kind of what happened politically with Jimmy Carter and everything, lost its mojo. And, you wouldn't know it from the music. I mean, maybe indirectly you go, well, maybe punk does kind of represent this kind of loss of, faith in the authorities and all that. But all to say, I think we're seeing something similar here where the art is just powering through regardless of the markets and the politics. So anyways, a couple of beautiful works. All to say, a couple of beautiful works by mech.txt of just, again, capturing the season here. This one is particularly beautiful. I mean, yeah, just really beautiful work. Again, crying to be screen printed. Continuing on, Bombadil, a new one, a new discovery here. Tom Bombadil in the last few weeks. So anyways, cool work with the TVs here and his kind of, guy with the oxygen mask, and just a really interesting GIF artist that, again, is a new discovery for me. Speaking of kind of GIFs in bright colors, Haiti Rocket, Bite Off, Mike Tyson. Mike is waiting for your challenge. So it looks like another Nintendo glitch ROM. So buy for 17, edition of 20. And also, I'll turn that off in case people are sensitive to the flashing lights. But anyways, so a couple of works there. And you see that second Mike Tyson is taken from the first, so it seems. You can do that in digital art. Why not? So continuing on. This was hilarious, actually, these experiments by Sabato using ChatGPT, the text AI tool. ChatGPT draws Michelangelo's David. So this was the second one. And as you can see here, draw me Michelangelo's David using Unicode and ASCII characters. So that's the prompt that he gives the AI, and then AI responds, here's rough ASCII art representation of Michelangelo's David using only ASCII characters. Weird, right? Funny and weird and interesting. Here's a version using Unicode for a slightly more detailed representation. I mean, that doesn't look like David, does it? So anyways, so interesting. And here ChatGPT draws a flower. So this one kind of goes on for a while. And let's see if we can get the start of it. Here it is. Create a beautiful ASCII art of a flower. And then here it is from ChatGPT. So very interesting experimentation. Again, something that I think we could find in a museum and be impressed. And everybody would think it's kind of funny and great. On to AI, just to wrap things up here. Haley X, who we've looked at before, is also having a nice holidays. I think that's Punk 7's Artie Hands is on the prowl here, buying works up. So sold for fairly cheap, but you just got to love it. You got to move work. I mean, it's something I tell myself. You should move more work. I should lower my prices on super rare and whatever else. Move work. It's better to move work than to just sit on it. So really nice AI work here. The light is awesome in this. And again, we've looked at Hallie X before. You might remember us looking at this piece. So, again, a lesson in persistence is what this episode is. It's just keep going. And I think they were Hallie X was doing well before. Look, all their work was selling, especially the one-of-ones. But all to say, you keep going and things start to happen. And this is Marina Amadova, who we've also been looking at. I'm not sure if this is something that was minted on, you see how there's a few of them? So I'm not sure if this is a Manifold XYZ work or not, because it seems like it's an edition, or maybe just an edition released on Foundation. But you see there's 29 here. And so anyways, just an interesting work. And here's another one that I don't think we've looked at. Dear DeFi Ape 2, thank you for collecting my artwork, the top notch. So people are selling. I think there's probably a lot of, people that are collecting right now because they have a little bit of extra time, maybe a little bit more money in their pockets. And so people are collecting right now. And, art collecting is an addiction. So the more people that start collecting, the more art collectors there will be, to state the obvious. Nice work by Mr. Shapeless. Again, beautiful kind of sky here, has that oil painting look. And again, the sea, and then another sea, the sea line here, looks like it's going to go underwater, but then it's just another representation of the sea. The shapes in the sky, and then almost another composition superimposed on top. I mean, again, very interesting work. And look at this, okay? So, holy smokes, thank you all. So, open edition. Sold 103 at 0.33, so a nice cheap price. Rakes in 3.3 ETH, and that's $5,000 probably, close to. So not bad, maybe 4, a little over 4. So pretty impressive stuff. Mr. Shapeless, our Wanderer figure there, so that's great to see. And again, Charles AI, Fractured Museum number 3 just sold on secondary for 2.6 ETH. So more sales. Okay, So Alessio Lagreca, this was an interesting comment and kind of a new direction a little bit here. I might have reevaluated the potency and historical value of AI distortions. So he's probably looking at like the 6 fingers here, and because the temptation over here. And so it's interesting because when you first start with looking at AI, the thing is, oh, there's errors in the AI. And as Strange Things said very early on, that is a feature, not a bug. And as AI starts to iron that out, these distortions will be seen as, if I understand Alessio correctly, as having historical importance. It'll be a moment in time when AI really was becoming persuasive for the first time, but was not 100% there. So you got these distortions. I totally agree. So again, it's back to this idea, if you're going to make some AI, you should make it sooner, in my opinion, rather than later. So continuing on, here's another work by Alessio, Unminted, The Middle Path. So again, seeming to be a similar kind of series here, right? Kind of using the sun, you see. So there's probably something with the sun in the prompt. Very interesting work as usual. And another one from Joanne. And again, this work is just beautiful. I'm not sure if we've looked at this before. This is just a GM, so it could be an older work, but it's nice to revisit sometimes too and just look at it nice and big. You know, there's something really nice about Joanne's work, and I believe uses painting, digital painting on top of AI, from what I understand. Amazing results. And what else? Third channel. Thank you, Punk7635, for collecting Geisha Goddess number 3 on secondary. So a lot of collecting is going on here, guys. And Ile, our favorite, most generous person on Twitter, that's who I'd give the most generous person on Twitter award to, Prism Sky Glitch. And this is pretty nice, isn't it? So AI artwork, and I'm not sure if it uses gen art, but probably just AI, I'm assuming. So interesting landscape. Again, something that you'd probably only see using AI. And here's an interesting kind of pixelated versions. Prism Sky Glitch 2. So again, interesting distortions here in the sky. So it's going somewhere with Ile, and you see like this stuff doesn't happen overnight. They iterate, these AI artists, and you see an evolution here. Like you could go to any of these AI artists and you'll see from like 3 months before to 3 months later. And it seems to be that is the gestation period where you get your thing, you know? So interesting work from Ile in the AI camp. And here's another, this is someone who actually the window kind of half closed too early. This person who does stitches in AI, Beloved Doggy, and this is by Ivanov Movda. And so just interesting work from them. And you see they're really working with the stitching. I think we were looking at this work or this work. So AI and stitching. So again, just interesting to see, very interesting results. And some physical work to wrap it up here. Take Xanax, eat at Chili's, jalapeno popper gag balls are back. So anyways, some more, you know, what's the word? Some more edgy satire from Die With The Most Likes. Working on his painting show. I'm going to go to it this week, hopefully. I mean, it's already Thursday here. Hopefully I can go this week. Hopefully it's open. In Berlin, he has a show. So anyways, he's doing a lot of painting here. And very interesting and fun to watch. Demon Ego, GM, What I Created in 2022. I'm not sure if this is the title, but it's a cool title if it is, and it's good looking work from Demon Ego. Very likely a physical work. Another physical work, Arlen Maltby, watercolor. So just a pretty nice work here. Kind of reminiscent a little bit of a lot of the abstracts we're seeing. So it's interesting in the digital abstracts. So interesting kind of patterns we're seeing here. And Ollie Izakowski, who we heard from last week in the Twitter Spaces and a longtime supporter of this show, also has some physical work that they are working on. An artist, can't remember, I think out of Eastern Europe, if I remember correctly. And that, my friends, is your show. I hope you continue to enjoy your holiday week. Until next time, take care.